So it's really exciting to be able to present so many game-changing solutions today in the next few minutes. And the first one I'd like to introduce is a gentleman named Dr. David Stuckenberg, is the CEO and founder of an amazing company called Genesis Systems. And Genesis Systems is involved, if any of you are familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, which I'm a major advocate of here for the United Nations, and also for our company, Sustainable Impact Alliance Solutions. Goal number 6 is to provide clean water for the world. And Genesis Systems is a new technology that has an ability to help achieve this goal globally. So Dr. Stuckenberg told me he's been a serial entrepreneur since the age of 11. He's, as many of you know that have been entrepreneurs, he's worked in probably all kinds of fields that have led him to this point, which is very exciting. And so anyway, without further ado, Dr. Stuckenberg, welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me okay? Good morning. It's a true privilege to be among kindred souls. I have one big regret so far at EarthX, and that is that this is my first one. And so having realized last night that I've missed 8 of these was a tough realization, but I won't make that mistake again. So thank you for those who've invited us to take part of this. Thank you, Steve, and thank you for the very kind introduction. I'm going to be talking about probably one of the most important things to confront our international community, probably in human history. And I may be a PhD, but you do not have to take my word for it. So I'm going to present some facts, and then I'm going to talk about how we're going to solve some of the challenges ahead with the help of the global community. And so without any further ado, let me get to the crux of it. Genesis System is a company that is 8 years old with a very singular mission: to sustainably solve global water scarcity. And the way in which we're doing that is completely novel, and when I'm done speaking to you, it's going to make total sense. So here we go. This is our most important Earth shot. And for a company with tremendous talent, both scientific, engineering, and otherwise, we are focused on what we call the essentials. And so today, it is estimated that about 4 billion people live in absolute water scarcity. And this was published in Nature last year, and if you look at that number, you'll understand that's about half of us now. And predominantly, human beings live between the equator and about 10 north latitude, okay? Or one might even call it the belt of the Earth, okay? And this is happening so fast and so furiously, it's really extraordinary. But in the past few weeks, I've had a chance to spend time with folks from all over the world, but in particular, even in the United States, there are people currently waiting for 20 years for a water supply from their local city government. And just yesterday, we heard leaders in this very room from the state of Texas speaking to what the economic impacts are going to be for the state of Texas over the next decade and so forth. And those impacts are going to translate into $136 billion a year in losses economically if something is not figured out with the water supply. How I would quantify water and the importance to you and I as human beings on Earth is very simply this. You and I cease in 3 days without water, and water is the economic potential energy of a nation or a state. If you don't have the material, you stop. So, okay, I'm making some big claims. Let's talk about the World Economic Forum. I'm a study of their literature and their research, and dating back for more than a decade, water has always been in the top 5 concerns, and I want you to look at it. It's ranked right along with weapons of mass destruction. Can you believe that? My entry into the water industry as a former engineer and national security professional who used to advise the Joint Chiefs of Staff was I physically observed a nation run its water supply out. And it changed my life. Because there is a point at which knowledge goes from the battle, knowing is half the battle, to where knowledge becomes the battle, and you have to decide what to do with it. So today I'm going to put some knowledge in front of you, and we'll all have to decide what to do with it, and I hope that we can take action together. But you don't have to take my word for it. So here's a 15-year data snapshot. This program is still ongoing, and on this slide you see Tom and Jerry, which are these two satellites following each other in geosynchronous orbit, and they pass over Earth twice a day, and what they're doing is they're actually measuring Earth's magnetic field and the changes in gravity that are happening due to the movement of water around our world. And I'm going to provide for you a very quick exemplar of what is happening in the United States, which is also happening across the world in Ukraine and other breadbaskets, right? So if you look up at the Texas Panhandle, that's the Ogallala Aquifer. It's one of the largest underground aquifers put together. The last time water was really charged into that, there were mastodons walking on ice sheets across North America. It took thousands of years for that aquifer to fill, and that is how we stopped the Dust Bowl. It supports the largest oil and gas and energy production in the world, and in addition, it supports a breadbasket for more than 100 countries. And that water is increasingly coming into competition as a scarce resource. And what you see out there is that those index wells are falling as much as 3 feet a day. And it's a very simple equation, because if you measure it, it's like a bank account. If I have $100 and I take $1 a day out, and I don't put any deposits back in, I've got 100 days left. And so we estimate on the United States water systems, what we see here is 5 out of 6 of the largest underground basins and aquifers are depleting rapidly, with one accreting. And so the trend is generally the same worldwide. The wetter areas are getting wetter, and the drier areas are getting drier. And so that's the reality on the street. Now, we're all very familiar with infrastructure. It was said again yesterday in the conversation in this room that infrastructure is really not that sexy. And it's been around since antiquity. Think about that the Hittite Empire actually designed the first large aqueducts, and later the Roman Empire would adopt those, and now that model is very much the model that our societies are built in. To move water long distances costs a tremendous amount of money. It's a heavy material, it uses a lot of energy, and it disturbs a lot of the ecosystems. It is estimated here that a mile of water pipe is about $2 million. So imagine now if you obviated the need for that completely, right? That sounds like the stuff of Star Wars or science fiction, right? Moisture farming, Luke Skywalker. It conjures up images. It also creates a credibility problem because no one can do this, right? Well, what if I told you that the Mesoamerican tribes figured this out thousands of years ago? And they began in certain localities where you had the climate to support it, of taking water out of the air. The amount of water in the air is equal to 100 times all of Earth's lakes, rivers, and streams. That's the good news. And if you take that water out, it's put back in between 9 minutes and 9 days. It's infinitely sustainable. So if today I took all of humanity's water needs out of the air for all that we needed, including industry, drinking, sanitation, all of it, it would be 1/700th%. And then in the next 9 days, it would be put right back. So what we have is a fast side of a water cycle that humanity has always relied on, and we have a slow side. And what we're transitioning humanity to as a company is to move humanity to the fast, sustainable side. So I want you to look at this room, and then I want you to mentally divide it in half. The amount of water in half of this room, which is about half the size of a basketball court, is enough for your daily water needs, and that is called your water cube. And I want you to think of a technology that could actually bring that to every man, woman, and child in the world. And that is the mission our company has been on for 8 years. So we're moving us from the slow side of the water cycle to the fast side of the water cycle. And we're doing it in a very elegant way. It started with 2 technical challenges that were very hard. Number 1, we had to be able to scale. And number 2, we had to make this economical. It's safe to say, without getting into a lot of detail on how this works, that we were able to make a handshake with a liquid called element that is made of natural things that are in the environment. And this handshake is a highly attractive, almost like a magnet to iron to water, and it pulls the water right in, and then we essentially break that water apart and unhandshake, and we can scale this up to utility scale water systems. What's that mean? Millions of gallons a day. All right, so what are we doing as a company? We've already launched 6 products. They're in use all over the world by the Department of Defense, and this is where we're going, folks. And so last year we had the privilege of winning the Consumer Electronics Show, besting more than 6,000 companies and 10,000 products to win the CES Innovation Award for the world's first full home waterless well, called the Water Cube. And it makes around 120 to 200 gallons a day. We also have 1,000-gallon a day systems and community water systems that can go on up. So where is the vision? It's an elegant system that essentially acts as a water router that you control. You control your destiny. This is the democracy of water. This is putting power back in people's hands that they need. Has some distinct advantages, as you might imagine, over other types of technologies that are out there, things that we've been using for a long, long time. But the most important thing is that we're seeing tremendous amount of market growth in and around water investment. I recently had a chance to sit down with Jay Heller, who's the head of capital markets for NASDAQ, and he said this to me: David, water is the new Silicon Valley, and it's early. So this is the amount of investment. Is going to be the largest growth segment of the world's economy over the next decade or so, because water underpins everything. If you can hold up your cell phone, that's 3,200 gallons of water. And your shirt, 400 gallons of water. Everything that is made, every industry, uses water. We're a very unique platform for civilization, and we touch on 17 of the 17 SDGs. We had a privilege as a company to help host the 2023 UN Water Conference, the first in 43 years, and speak to the UN General Assembly and say, we must recognize the water in the air as a viable, sustainable source of water supply and begin to transition. What if impossible wasn't? We believe that it isn't. The need for international airport-size infrastructure to create water solutions for places that cannot afford it, it's an impossible solve, but it is not anymore. What if scarcity was solved? This is our own picture, right? And there are many others around the world that are just as bad. And that's what we are doing. We are not an observer. We are in the water action decade, and we are moving out to transform it right now. So these are some of the applications that we see our systems being used in. We are one of the only water companies in the world incubated by Amazon. And of course, we see our systems supporting very water-intensive data centers. We can create chip fab grade water, which is some of the purest in the world. We can crack water, obviously, into hydrogen and clean energy. We can provide water for oil platforms, so you no longer have to transport that out there or dump brine into the sea. And just recently, last year, Hurricane Milton hit Florida. The state of Florida asked for all of our inventory. They put one of our systems on the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital and prevented a $10 million business interruption in one single use because the hospital was able to keep going and did not have to shut down. Obviously, we can provide water to heavy industry and energy, and of course, to the Department of Defense and operators around the world. With that, it's been my privilege to share with you Genesis Systems and our mission to sustainably solve global water scarcity. There's one company in the world that can provide utility scale water from air. It's Genesis Systems, and I'm privileged to be involved with our team in solving this challenge with you. Thank you.